This episode of Casters Guild is one in a series of episodes where we will be playing the beta test of Daggerheart. Unlike other episodes of Casters Guild, we recommend that you listen to these episodes in order. In order not to break immersion, we will not be reading ads during these episodes. So to help us out, please check out the links in the description below. Daggerheart is a fantasy role-playing game, in this case being played by adult players. So be aware you may encounter descriptions of violence, gore, mature themes, and the use of mature language. Listener discretion is advised. Last episode, our heroes were victorious, and all was well in Sablewood. For now. So now we share our opinions on how the session went, and the system itself. So we did just do a beta test. So let's talk about some of the stuff. I think I actually have the Daggerheart beta test survey pulled up right in front of me here. So let's just go ahead and start with those questions, and we'll see where the conversation leads from there as far as how you guys feel about Daggerheart. So it's one of those like strongly agree to strongly disagree kind of scale things here. And the first thing is the abilities and information on my character sheet was confusing or counterintuitive. How do we feel about that statement?
What was the question one more time?
The abilities and information on my character sheet was confusing or counterintuitive. And it's like a strongly disagree, neutral, agree, strongly agree.
No, honestly, like I think that especially if you're using one of these like the Demiplane API, like it makes it really easy to do it. It's very accessible. And even like whenever you're looking at the character sheet that's in the quick start guide, it's set up so for me, if there's a lot of information, even though the information is very vital, my brain shuts down, executive dysfunction.
Sure.
And I get overloaded, sensory overload and everything. So like it does a really good job of keeping everything, like there's enough white space, there's enough room for everything. I think that it's very intuitive. I think that it does really well. Of course, there's going to be like some things, like I think there was the experience thing that we were talking about earlier, right? That didn't have a ton of information, but it sounds like similar to what City of Mist does, that it's really up to your interpretation, or it could be anyways, which is great. If we had
created our own characters, I don't even think we'd run into that issue, because then you're choosing your own experience and you decide what it means.
So it's not like a list of things that you choose from. It's a just make something up. Like, what's your experience? Okay. Yeah. So in that case, then no, this is very intuitive. I think that it's done really well.
I think the only parts that were quote unquote counterintuitive were I've spent forever, like I said before, learning Dungeons and Dragons. So anything that was different from 5e or anything that went in a different direction, like my brain automatically wanted to click into the 5e rule set, but I got to be like, no, we're playing a different game. So I actually think it would be easier to learn for somebody who's never played a TTRPG before versus someone who's been locked in to these.
So like a help guide, like a table that shows, like, if you're trying to do this, the next cell is what the equivalent is for Daggerheart.
I don't think it's necessarily up to Darrington Press to do that, but I feel there's going to be a lot of YouTube videos that come out where it's like, if you're used to this in 5e, this is how it works in Daggerheart, and I feel like there's definitely going to be a market for that information.
Absolutely. It really leaves a ton of room open for homebrewing too, because like I'm not a huge fan, and I don't think this is what applies to this question, but of the like I'm equally like a huge fan of the dice rolling, but I think it's just so different than what I'm used to nowadays that it took a lot for my brain to kind of readjust and get the gears going again. Of like, the hope and the fear and the advantage, disadvantage, critical. Like critical is pretty easily. It's like, oh, I got the same number. Oh, hey, that's really good. But but otherwise, like I think that's less of the play set and more of the just shifting gears.
Right. Anybody else on that question?
No. I'd say in terms of like an answer,
I'm also filling in my questions too. Each character sheet has that.
Yes.
So
is you're talking about like the
beta. I'll send out the links to the surveys later. Which if you guys fill out all these surveys, that'll be good for Darrington Press to get those.
Are you looking at your character sheet on Demiplane?
On my Demiplane? No, I was on the printout.
Yeah,
there's like a feedback portion over there.
Yeah. Cool.
The next question is: this game was difficult to play. From strongly agree to strongly disagree.
No,
Disagree.
super easy.
Super easy.
I will say, which is something that I feel like you're gonna agree with, Rick. It is a lot easier for the players than it is the DM, because I've DM'd this.
Yeah, there's a lot to juggle over on the Game Master side, but I think that also lends it to being a player-driven game, because there's a lot of things that are taken off my plate by me going, oh, the trees are different. How? And then that puts it on the player's plate. So while there was a lot going on my side, it's good that this is a player-led narrative where a lot of times you guys were saying, oh, is there this here? Can I do this? And it's like, yes. Whatever it is that you guys come up with, it's a whole lot easier in this game to say yes, because no, there wasn't a tree there, but sure there is now. Because you say there is.
As a DM, like that portion of things was never really a huge challenge because you could always do that in any game that you run, right? The biggest challenge that I've always had was what you were struggling with, right? Which is keeping track of everything mechanically and all that. So one of my biggest downfalls as a DM was not downfalls. That sounds like I died or something, but I was defeated. Was like, oh shit, I forgot to do this. Well, you guys survived, I guess. But it was one of the, so if that's a challenge for a DM, more so as an experienced DM, it might be something to consider as a pain point for the feedback, right? But as a player, though, so intuitive.
Yeah.
I will also say, while you said in other systems, you could just do that player-led thing before, me being a DM who usually runs pre-writtens, I could probably count on one hand the amount of times I've run something that I wrote myself. Whereas if I tried to count the amount of times I've written pre-writtens, we'd be here all night. And if you say yes to everything in a pre-written, you can paint yourself into a corner where you go, yeah, there's a tree there, but then you find out there's not supposed to be a tree there because of something else that happens, and it could be the most innocuous things.
I learned that shit real fast.
Yeah, so when I say this is built into the pre-written to be player run that way. So when I say it is literally taking something off my plate when it does that, with the way I DM with a bunch of pre-writtens, it truly is. That is something I used to have to think about, and a plate I used to have to keep spinning that I don't.
That was one of the things I ran Out of the Abyss, which if anybody hasn't ran that, don't.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's
as far
a trudge.
as the amount of
That is, out of all of the published Wizards 5e games, 5e's stories, it is almost universally known that Out of the Abyss is the biggest lift for a DM because
that takes a very special type of DM to enjoy running that type of game.
Well, it's called autism. I have it, and that became part of my life is learn because. Most of the times, everybody kind of agrees that you can just read the chapter ahead to kind of get a sense of everything. But everybody says if you run Out of the Abyss, read the entire book before you start session 0 or session 1, because good God, if something that happens if you wrong in chapter 1 could impact something you didn't realize in chapter 9, right? And if that's something that takes off the DM's plate, that's a huge game changer. Because some of those elements do happen in other things, just not to the degree of Out of the Abyss. But if it's something that kind of flexibility is there, then great. Yeah, that's a huge win for Daggerheart.
To have that kind of flexibility in the pre-writtens is huge to me.
As a publisher that doesn't have decades of experience and data of player bases like Wizards does.
Yes.
Yeah.
They might have insight, but not the hard concrete data that this.
Then the next question that you can strongly agree to disagree on is combat felt engaging and dynamic.
Agree.
I would say, yeah. The only downside is without the turn order, I always kind of felt like I still did it because again, autism and I don't have a good social element sometimes. That's why I played the weirdo Barnacle. But I think it was a little difficult to understand when is a good time to step in, but really making sure that you're getting yourself out of the mindset of wait your turn and just do something that makes sense will make this a lot different.
Agreed.
A lot better.
We had a lot of people who are very polite and here and like, oh, well, you go. No, you go. No, you go. And that's the only real problem I see with this combat system.
I even said in there, I was like, I think it's great given who I was playing with. But I can see how it could go wrong real fast.
Yeah, sort of like people who want to hog the show or do all the things and have a 8-step turn. But I think if you go into it with the right mindset and you just are conscious of like, okay, I've done a lot right now. Now you go. Or, somebody can build off of that. I like the collaborative storytelling focus you mentioned about,
especially that first encounter where like we all kind of just alley-ooped each other. That was really great.
It was a lot of like lifting and
which is something like, you cannot do with a standard initiative system.
And the structure and rigidity of certain pre-writtens and like Out of the Abyss sounds like it almost gets in the way of telling the story and having the fun of like a loose, free, flexible.
Out of the Abyss, like where things are like, and time has passed, didn't happen in Out of the Abyss. Every day was a new nightmare because you're traversing the Underdark, right? And there's demons about, and it's bad news bears all around. But like it's a survival game on top of regular D&D. So food is a huge impactor. So like of course you can get granular with this game,
and that's not even including juggling 12 DM NPCs, by the way. The game literally gives you 12 DM NPCs to play with the party. That's not an over-exaggerated number. It's 12.
I got really good about challenge ratings because I always did a more so I can get rid of some of those fucking NPCs. There was one Lord Alliance NPC that they kept around, and the way I described him, they were like, oh, so he looks like George Clooney, and his name is Clooney the entire time. They kept him because that was a fun little thing. So like, anyway, I digress. Anyways, like you can get granular with this game, fine, if you like that. But those who are getting into this that have come from other role playing backgrounds need, or like other things that have that more stringent structure.
Yes,
need to be sure that they don't have to abide by those same kind of rules. As long as everybody's kind of having fun and everybody's like having kind of vibing off of each other, I guess. One of the biggest challenges I have is really just like making sure that I'm not, like what you said, like I'm not trying to be showboaty and hogging. I just think things are funny, and I'll continue having funny thoughts and keep going until somebody says, "Hey, Anthony, just chill the fuck out," right?
As long as everybody's still laughing and having fun, keep going. Like
but like I'm just trying to make sure that I don't do that, and I think that is the biggest kind of challenge with this system, this I guess turn order or lack thereof, but. I do love you ran with fear? Cool. Well, my turn now.
Yeah.
That does add a bit more like kind of a stress to the initiative for sure.
It's like that something is building each time that you roll fear. And you don't know what it is yet. That was up to our GM to decide, hey, now's my turn and here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like sort of this like impending doom.
I wonder like
everyone is also contributing to.
The more actions you guys take, the more actions I get to take after. So there's an element where when you're on a roll, like you want to be happy about the fact that you're on a roll, but at the same time you're like, how many times is the GM going to get to go after this on a roll ends?
Oh man, like the opportunity for turning tides. Like you're like thinking like, oh, we're gonna do it, and then all of a sudden so many rolls of fear, and then you have like fucking 12 actions stacked, and you're like, oh no.
I will also say, if you have an even semi-experienced GM, if you do run into the problem of somebody stealing the spotlight, that semi-experienced GM even could just like turn and be like, kind of like I did. I don't think I needed to do this, but a couple times I was like, oh, we haven't heard from Garrick in a while. Garrick, what are you doing? And like even a semi-experienced GM can turn that spotlight if need be.
Yeah.
I've definitely ran games for players that are very timid and had to do that. So like this would be something that would be very important if you had those kind of players. But I don't think like a lot of us are pretty so far. Like what I've experienced thus far is we're pretty great at kind of throwing ourselves out there.
I think what helps is I think we are all pretty well established game masters too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, I just realized this kind of sitting here. I was like, we aren't just like once in a while we run a game.
Yeah.
We're pretty much the dudes that do it.
Yeah,
man, I don't think I've ever done that. I played a game with Oops all Dungeon Master.
I
Oops
love
all Game Master.
running. That's one of the reasons I volunteered to run this one so readily. First of all, it means you guys all get to play, which I know most of you don't get to do that very often. And two, it is such a joy to run for a group of Dungeon Masters.
Because like the story is just like first of all, it's goofy. It's always fucking goofy. But there's not that because we're always so used to like playing all the characters except for a handful that we really dive into the one character because we have just one at our disposal.
All right, moving on to the next question, just because I feel like we've kind of exhausted that last one. The rules were clear and easy to interpret.
What we had, I think, yeah,
with what was presented and what's available
as a foundational beta. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the only problem was, like I said, there's about 377 pages to like the full rule book for the beta. And like if you're looking for something very specific, I'm sure if you find that rule, it's very clear. It's just a matter of finding everything.
Having an index or something like that would be good if it doesn't exist already. That's one of the things I love about D&D Beyond is that I can just look grappling and hey, there's an actual really intuitive page with great art and great graphic design that's going to allow me to consume that information very easily and effectively.
I feel like Demiplane will get there for Daggerheart.
Yeah.
Oh,
especially once we're out of it.
Honestly, first time I've used it, and I'm very impressed.
I like it. Yeah,
I saw TCK. You found the note and posted it as well. I appreciate that you were able to find.
I feel like it's also because it's so new that we have to like go digging for it. I feel like once all of us run like more games, we'll be able to be like, yeah, it's right here.
Yeah.
Honestly, like the fact that this is in beta and we played it with very little hiccups. Now, granted, like we always played like, I'm not sure how it works in Daggerheart, but
fucking works like this for now. We'll look it up later.
Yeah. Well, no, like I say that after running 5e and 3.5 for over a decade now, and it's been out for so long, and for whenever it comes down to it, the information's there.
Yeah,
it's done. It needs some fine tuning, but as a beta, it's very well done. It's very intuitive.
The next question is: I did not enjoy my character's abilities.
Disagree.
I would say I wish there was more mechanics around frog shenanigans because there's a lot. I before this game looked up a lot of frog facts. And I had almost one thing applied, and that was the tongue thing. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. I wish there were more amphibious frog-related shenanigans. It doesn't have a single jump-related thing.
That's actually one of the things I put into my questionnaire, too.
Oh, really?
The
fact that they don't want to breathe through its skin.
I feel like they want to leave some balance to it, and they also want to leave a lot up to interpretation. And this is me being like a Daggerheart apologist right now, but like each ancestry is given one ability,
right?
Maybe two, depending on the ancestry and depending on the power of that ability. So like if they give you a list of frog shit that you could do because you're a ribbit, I mean, like it would make
everyone would be barnacles.
Yeah, everyone would play ribbit, you know what I mean? But at the same time,
like you could do the same thing for humans, right? Like you have backgrounds and other things. Like you have things that you can choose from, maybe not based on your race, but like with the race, this one being ancestry, like you can have it be almost like a leveling system for an ancestry, where as you grow as this creature, you start to gain these other features, right? Because like frogs, for example, tadpole, froglet, and then frog. Like, just say it's a maturing factor. Like, oh, you know what? At this level, you've grown enough to breathe through your skin, or you've grown enough to increase your jump to X, Y, Z.
I think it would be cool to be able to have different cards that you could add on to, especially like for your I don't know what they're the heritage racial cards or whatever.
There's ancestry and community make up your heritage.
So yeah, the ancestry then. If you could add on ancestry stuff as you got older, That would be fucking cool.
So there's two ways I can see of handling this.
A little weird though, because like if it's ancestry, like you should already have those abilities, right? Once you become a full-fledged creature, right? A full grown creature. Because I like, for me as a 30-something-year-old male, like I'm not getting any taller, or I might get whiter, but or whiter. But like if I was a frog person, I should have already be able to jump that far. I should already be able to do all these other things. So I guess it wouldn't really work in that regard. But like having something a bit more fleshed out for these ancestries would be nice.
I feel like there's two different ways to handle this, and it's one with your gaming group when you get together and you're doing character creation. If you want to add that kind of stuff to your character, just make sure everybody else can add it to their characters as well. Come up with things for all the different ancestries, so everybody gets to like fully flesh out their ancestry. Or two, Daggerheart does use a card system, and you are allowed X amount of cards. So if you want to take X amount of abilities from your ancestry, put out those abilities for ancestry, but just let you have the option of taking them from the beginning, and it just means you take less cards from your domain. So you have all these cool
I do like that,
ancestry abilities, and like so you're still allowed the same amount of cards, you still have the same amount of powers. It's just you're taking less cards from your domains in your like class.
So in like
and stuff.
my regards, like my domain effects are inspirational words, which I kept wanting to use, I never did, and pick and pull, which is just like lifting, right?
Yeah.
Or like picking locks, and we don't really have a lot of opportunity to do that. So there's plenty of opportunities, but I could have definitely fucked around in that tavern some more. But having like maybe like pull one from the domains and adding my super hopper kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
That makes sense. I do like that. I think that would work.
I will say, I like how unique all the classes feel in this. Like, every subclass feels unique, every class feels unique from each other. Whereas, like, D&D, you have, like, Ranger, Fighter, and Paladin that can all essentially just be the exact same thing.
The Venn diagram is less overlapped, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. And even with how unique they are, because you can pick and pull different cards from different domains, my Ranger could be entirely different from your Ranger.
It gets rid of the, you're both rogues, well, you better both be different subclasses or else you won't be unique.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, they've done a lot of work in, like, kind of diversifying the subclasses, but at the core level, it's pretty much the same. Foundational level, rather. Yeah,
it's like, especially in this, I feel like the Guardian was great, because I could just sit on the lady and protect her. Because I have the resistance, I had Whirlwind, and it never came up because you were attacking me instead of her. But had you hit her, I am your shield, where I can mark a stress to take the damage instead.
Oh, that's nice.
Really quick. I am going to have to jump. I apologize.
No, don't apologize. You're good.
Didn't just want to dip out. I just want to say thank you so much for having me again, and everybody. Yeah. Amazing job. Making the characters come to life.
Right back at you, man.
Awesome.
I do want to give you the opportunity, if you have at least enough time to do this. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. If anybody liked what you had to say or liked your playstyle, is there anywhere else on the internet they can find you?
Shogundy is me. SHOGUNDY on Twitch. I stream a lot. We're doing a big marathon event coming up in like less than 2 weeks. So if you want to find me, I'm Shogundy everywhere.
And we'll have some links for that down in the description.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Cool. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Hey, you too, man.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
The next question is, I did not feel confident making confident gameplay decisions.
I am stricken with unwarranted confidence, so I can't answer that question unbiasedly.
I feel like all of us as like game masters and experienced players, like we're going to make decisions. Like it's just going to be...
Yeah, maybe that question's not suited for us.
That's more for new players. I think people haven't played a lot of games before. The abilities and information on my cards was confusing or counterintuitive. I feel like we kind of already answered this with the previous.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if you take the moment, like, because there's plenty of times where I like, all right, hold on, I'm reading something, and I took the moment and read it instead of skimmed it. Makes tons of sense. Super intuitive, super great, love it. Maybe if they did better with the formatting, with how it's read, that way people who can at a glance quickly consume the information, that would be better. But if you just take the time to read the paragraph, It makes sense.
No,
Or do what I do and highlight it. If you're using Google Chrome or Edge, there's a read aloud option. Have it read to you if you have issues like me with consuming textual information.
I will say this: a lot of the stuff, like being able to have the information ready, blah blah blah. If you're on that demi-plane thing, it is overly helpful.
Yeah,
because
all you gotta great for this.
Oh yeah, because what does Instinct do? That seems kind of dumb. Let me just click on Instinct. Oh, okay, that's what it does. Okay, neat. And it's just like everything you can click on, and it's like, this is it. Even if I click on human or highborn human warrior, it breaks down everything about that, and it's like, I learned the whole game just doing this. Even my level up options, it's fucking stupid.
So, yeah, I'll say that's one thing that I don't do well with, though, is whenever they give you a wall of text. But that again, that's because I don't do well with absorbing textual information. But if you just take the time, even before, even if you just mark it down as a note saying, "Hey, I didn't understand this, so I'm gonna read this up later, or listen to this later," or the internet is a thing. You look at YouTube videos. That's what I did. But the little cards with just a snippet, a paragraph snippet of what it is. Super easy. Bolding, formatting, that's where it's lacking right now.
Yeah, and Demiplane even has, if you look on your character sheet, above downtime, it says show hints, and it'll give gives you even more information on how to use each individual thing and, what it's meant for.
Yeah.
So definitely...
Assholes.
Top right, left of conditions, above downtime, to the right of your... Well, mine says Midnight and Grace, whatever that is.
Your domains.
My domains.
You might be running into what one of my players had, where it was dependent on the browser.
Yeah, probably.
I'm using Edge.
Well, it'll just take its time then.
Yeah. It works for me. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Next question.
Being a goon.
The thing I most enjoyed about Daggerheart this session was...
Oh, eating a goblin named Bill, probably, or scaring a child. I mean, but that's really just kind of to go into the RP side of things. Using Bill as a meat shield first was cool. I don't think that has anything specific to the game. I think it's just really shenanigans. But I think as far as a point of a funny point that I'm going to remember longest, then probably those things, those moments.
Yeah, and it'll definitely be what I said before, just standing on the protect the person and having that moment of I am the tank.
That is pretty fucking great. That you had the ability to knock out a ton of people and plan B in your pocket just in case things went wrong and somebody started hitting her.
Yeah, I will say the Guardian is probably my favorite class out of all the classes I've looked over.
What's funny is I've only played a rogue on one other on a stream years ago for a Strahd campaign. But other than that, I never played a rogue before. And I always felt like rogue was a bit more cumbersome. And I always loved barbarian because it was very intuitive. There wasn't a lot of things going on. It was go over there, get mad, get hit, and that's it. And I liked the character that I played as a rogue, but I didn't like all of the overburdening of different things to remember, like sneak attack and all that stuff, right? Or the other stuff that that was applied to the subclass. But from what I've seen is that I feel like I'm a broken record here. It really kind of condenses and everything to be a lot more intuitive, but without sacrificing those moments where, like you said, you could be, I am the tank and I am here to defend, or something like that, right?
When we first talked about
Daggerheart
on the podcast, I kind of tore apart the card system because I was like, I don't want to buy all these fucking cards. But the card system, I like it a lot now that it's actually been into play, because it's like you're talking about right now. You don't have a dozen different abilities, some of them passive and some of them not, that you have to juggle. You have this hand of cards, and that's the only thing you need to worry about.
I mean, and honestly, if you... I'm sure there's gonna be a PDF copy and you just print it and throw it in a sleeve kind of thing. You don't have to go and buy the physical copies of these cards. It's 2024. I had to look at the calendar. It's 2024. Everything's digital now.
Yeah, and even at the higher levels, like you can only have 5 domain cards, so even at high level, you don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah, I do like that. Like that everything's like kind of boiled down to just your cards instead of 12 pages of notes and character information.
Baron, your favorite thing?
Just about the game in general, my favorite thing was I mentioned it a few times, is the evasion armor and the armor slots. How that all
honestly, yeah. That was probably one of my first things that I read. I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah, because it treats armor like armor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how leather gives you more agility, but it's like less armor points, whereas the heavy armor takes away agility or takes away evasion.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
same.
it would.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite thing is the combat system and the way the initiative works, like we were discussing earlier. And at first I was thinking, oh, I can take some of these ideas and I can go put them in my D&D game. And then it was like, why? I'm just going to go play Daggerheart.
Yeah. Like, I mean, might as well, right? Get the recognition now, get these kind of things. Like, it's Critical Role, and they have millions of dollars in revenue. But like, it's still technically, it's still an indie game, right? It's still like we should be supporting these things rather than, I mean, of course, like still play D&D. We're not just saying don't play D&D.
Well, I'm just saying Critical
make sure
Role
that you're also giving the opportunity to bring more recognition as a DM or as a GM into these indie games.
You say don't say it. I'm saying it. Don't play D&D. Go play Daggerheart.
I put way too much money into Wizard of the Coast.
Yeah, play with what you got. Play with what you got.
Each one of these trophy plaques back here.
Yeah, play with what you have, but don't go buy new D&D books. If you're going to go buy new books, go buy Daggerheart books.
Critical Role hasn't called the Pinkertons on anybody. We're just saying that.
That's fair. That is fair. That is... Oh, man.
Me and my friends
about that.
Have played this. We play Monster of the Week, and we play Vampire. We haven't played D&D in forever.
Honestly, like we ran that City of Mist game in a while, and I hear that's very similar to Monster of the Week. But I've been wanting to play Monster of the Week because I just want to run, or I want to play in a kind of Scooby-Doo, kind of supernatural style game, and that sounds like it's perfect. Like it's captured in little capsules of like episodes, which is amazing.
Before we get too far from it, I also
we're digressing.
I also want to say there's nothing stopping you from running a game of Daggerheart in Faerun or Greyhawk or whatever D&D setting that you know from forever. There's nothing stopping you from applying these Daggerheart rule sets to those settings. And go ahead, keep playing quote-unquote D&D, but use the Daggerheart rule set.
Yeah.
I am literally converting Lost Mines of Phandelver to Daggerheart to run a 1 through 10 for my friends.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Dragon Mountain or Daggerheart.
I still owe you a Dragon Mountain game.
Oh yeah, true. That's right.
All right. Next question. The thing I like least about Daggerheart this session.
Mine, I could have missed it. I said it doesn't have really like a clear information on movement.
Before you finish that answer, look, my editing software is going to cut out that silence. I'd like to point out to the listener that when I said least thing, the thing that you like least, everybody was silent for a minute because we all had to think about what we didn't like because we all had so much fun.
That's a fair clarification, yeah. And it would have sounded like I answered really damn fast.
Yeah.
And I will say, Baron, there is rules for movement.
I figured there might be, yeah.
It's just another thing where it's new, but it's essentially everyone can move close, which is 30 feet, like D&D. And then if you want to move up to far, it's an agility roll.
Well, okay, then actually, thank you, because that's actually forcing me to clarify. I mean, like, the Ribbid's ability to hop. They should be able to hop.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that? Or climbing
honestly,
a tree or
I
swimming.
think agility roll works because, like,
it should.
If
but
it's
how
moving
far
more
would
than
it
30?
What does that signify as far as that agility roll? Like, if I roll good, how far is that?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's in there somewhere.
We didn't. I looked up frog facts.
Yeah.
I could have jumped all around this with no hesitation, especially at the size of what Ribbit is.
But I will say this, just again, us being a group of DMs, I think we were all pretty quick to come up with an answer.
Yeah.
One that we would all be fine with, but it's still not the answer that will be out. You know what I mean?
I'm sure the answer's in that book. I'm just not looking for it right.
Yeah, don't listen to this with the understanding that we're playing a beta, and not that this is the true rules.
Right? Yeah, we're not critiquing the game. We're offering.
And also,
I'm saying like if you're coming back to this, like I want to learn how to play Dragonheart or Daggerheart.
It kind of sounded like we all piled on Baron and his one complaint, but like this is how nitpicky we have to be to come up with something that we didn't like. Yeah. I'm sure Baron like doesn't even really like hate that about the game. It's just he was trying to come up with something.
I nitpicked myself. I wrote it down and I put in parentheses, I may have missed it. I even nitpicked myself.
In conclusion, get fucked, Baron. I really think, like, though, that being said, it kind of to echo it, like, there's not a lot of clear things, like these very traditional things, like movement speed. That should be something that is very in your face on the character sheet, right? Mm. And it might be something that's changed by the time that this has been posted.
That actually would help out a lot if it was right on the character sheet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of those things where if it's same for every character, which is what it is,
it might be,
that where it's like everybody can move 30 feet. That might be why they didn't put it on the character sheet.
That makes sense, yeah. But like for things like jumping or hopping and things like that, right? Like that, if that's a thing that is brought into play, then you would need to have some sort of like at least have like it on your Ribbit Ancestry card.
Yep. Or like I said, it's a card you could pick later for your Ribbit or not pick. I think my least favorite thing was like I said it before, over on the Game Master side of things, there's a lot, but I think that'll go away with experience. Like once I've run this game 100 times, I don't think I'll be stressed about it at all.
You won't take stress points. What we never got a point to do this, but I see that in the character sheet there, the way that the currency is done is like there's handfuls, there's bags, chests, hoards, and fortune. Mm-hmm. And I know we didn't get a ton of opportunities to play with that.
I have a suggestion on that. I'm suspecting that you're going towards we don't know how that fucking works.
Yeah.
As a World of Darkness player, I think that I'm betting it's very similar. Mm-hmm. So in World of Darkness, you have resources that you can take dots in. So if you have a dot, you make a roll, and if you make the roll, then you can afford the thing that you're wanting to go for.
Gotcha.
So I'm thinking like with this, you have this, you have a handful of gold, and then like you roll, and I'm betting if you fail, you don't have that anymore. Your handful of gold is gone.
Yeah.
But as long as you're making that roll, again, within reason, you're not going to go and be like, oh, I'm going to buy this mansion with a handful of gold. Let's make a roll.
Right,
Yay! No, it's going to come down to a lot of interpretation, which, let's face it, even in D&D, prices are a lot of interpretation.
Mm-hmm. It's very arbitrary.
Even though they have a list of equipment that's like, it's this much gold, we all know that it's not going to be that much gold.
Yeah. Well, I do like that.
Make it that much gold. I straight up use the price lists from the book.
Yeah. I use a lot of third-party stuff for price lists because I do like to make sure that I'm not kind of giving folk something for way too cheap. Because like early on, if I'm like winging something, balancing is not my forte. So like somebody's like, I want this big health potion, right? Yeah, sure. I'm sure that's like 50 gold. I don't know. Is it? Maybe. Mm-hmm. I look back and it's like, is it 20 gold? Is it 150 gold? I look back, I'm like, fuck, all right.
But here's my thing is, they go in to buy that health potion, right? Have they ever been in that shop before? Do they look fucking stupid? Are they nice? Are they happy? That all is going to factor into how much that thing is going to be. And maybe having that as a base price is fine. Yeah, but it's still like one of those, oh, you Rube, you're coming in here. I've never seen you before. You look like a big old dummy head. So it's going to be $100 health potion.
Which does allow a lot of streamlining to the handfuls, bags kind of functionality, which would be great if that's the case. We could be just riffing at this point.
I think they intentionally left out the ability to buy something in the pre-written beta because I feel like that is a rule set. They were like, we're throwing a lot of new rules at these people
Garrick,
who play
you never
D&D
paid for
forever.
your rice.
For my what?
You never paid for your rice.
Yeah.
All right, everybody get back in character. We have to get back.
Gareth paid in laughs. That the person who was making those bowls of rice was like, "It's rice. It's cheap. I'm gonna laugh at this dude's tattoo all fucking night."
That's literally how I was seeing it too.
Yes.
I do have one thing I've thought of that I didn't like. The help action didn't come up.
Mm.
I know.
Yeah.
I tried.
I tried to with the dagger thing.
Like with you, I was going to help you out,
But too far.
but then I was like, "Oh, you're all the way on the other side of the field. It's not going to make sense to help." So,
like, I feel like in the terms of one-shots are more combat-driven, and help isn't going to come up as much. But, like, coming into this, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, I really didn't see my players use this, so I'm going to try and make an effort to do it. And I just never could come up with anything.
I think that during the downtime activities where you can apply certain things to other your allies, that would probably come up more, right? Where that would be kind of like a help action, but you're just doing it as a help downtime activity. When it comes to like when one person's casting a spell and you would like to help them or something like that, or like you're trying to pick a lock and you're like giving them pointers and that's helping them or something like that, right? The mechanics of it, I'm not like, I think that might be lost. Maybe they get advantage like they do, but then you just roll the d6. But I don't know if that's actually something that's included in the beta rule set. But
are you talking about the Daggerheart?
Yeah.
Yeah, the help action's in Hope. Using Hope, help an ally, you can spend one Hope to help make an action where you can feasibly aid them. When you do this, describe how you're helping and roll a d6 advantage die. So yes, they would get advantage.
Basically just giving them advantage, except you're rolling the d6.
Yeah, instead of 2d20. Yeah.
So it's basically
I pulled out my critical roll d20 from like this was like one of their first merch things. They put a d20 out, or they put a whole set out, and I never used it.
Well, you don't use that on the player side. You don't use a whole lot of d20 when it comes to Daggerheart. I will say on the GM side, every attack roll is a d20, just like it's the old D&D system.
Oh damn! I have a d8 and a d6.
And also on the GM side, one of those wraiths attacks was a d20 damage. So,
nice.
Yeah, there are reasons to use d20s in this game. They're just usually on the GM side.
I like that I turned into myself a little bit whenever I got hit by the wraith, starting to slowly turn into dad. Yeah.
One clarification or tool that could have improved our game session was.
I think we really went over everything with the expansions. Yeah.
Agreed.
There's probably a small handful of them, but like honestly, nothing major.
An index.
Yeah, the index would be nice.
I think they're gonna find out from this beta test and a lot of people giving feedback what rules people came up against a lot, where like they had to go look for a rule, and like there is a quick sheet, and I think that quick sheet is going to evolve and different things are going to get added and removed and changed on that quick sheet.
That's what this is for.
The quick reference sheet, yeah. And so that is the tool that could be improved, in my opinion, is the quick reference sheet that they already have. Once they learn the things that people really need on that quick reference sheet, I think that tool will improve, and that's the tool that can be improved.
The only thing I was kind of wishing there was more clarification on my sheet is the Wanderborn thing. Like, I love the nomadic pack because it's like a Monster of the Week thing, where you can just pull out random bullshit that'll help in the situation. But it's like, pull out a common item that's useful in this situation. I was sitting there staring at it for a while, like, before I pulled out the gong. I'm like, can I pull out a tier 0 weapon with this? Like, what is the exact limit of a common item?
Yeah, there could be more clarification on that. It's probably one of those things that, once again, if you dive through the entire rulebook and look through all the items, it probably has ratings on those items, like this is common, this is uncommon, this is rare. Like, so it's anything on that list. But at the same time, like you said, like Monster of the Week and stuff like that, where you have your abilities where just like, oops, I stumbled upon the thing, and then like you just have it. It's one of those things where I think it's going to be GM discretion, where like, hey, can I pull this out of my bag? And the GM's going to go, yeah, probably. Or like, no, that doesn't really make sense. But yeah, I think it's going to come down to GM discretion, personally.
Can I pull this 10-foot ladder out of my bag?
Yes.
Yes, you pull a collapsible ladder.
Yeah, it's collapsible. Yeah, it's fine.
And
the local ye old home depot.
The very last question: is there anything we haven't asked you that you'd like to share about your session?
Black cake's real good.
Well, that goes hand in hand with what I was about to say. I really, really enjoyed the world building.
Yeah,
being in the hands of the players.
Yeah.
Again, that could be really fucking abused, but
it can, and also like it'd be really difficult for DMs like me, where I have a problem removing myself from the world building as a kind of like end all be all, and just kind of like letting things get loosey goosey. Because like I tried to get those moments of holy shit, this is amazing, and sometimes that is at the sacrifice of like allowing my players to do that too. And it's not necessarily like anything trying to malicious, or it's anything like it's just like a toxic trait of my DM style that I've been trying to work on. That if you're coming from a similar background into Daggerheart, that it would be difficult as a DM.
That has been my thing that I've been telling everyone I talk to about this. It feels like it's really like beginner friendly to experienced friendly for players. I don't know that I would hand this to a brand new GM and say, here, run this. Because they're like, if you don't have the experience with improv and yes and or yes but, you're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
I will say, looking at the beta, there's a lot written there that says if players do this, do this. If players do this, do this. It actually has a lot of handholdy. I would actually like to put it in the hands of somebody who's never DM'd a game before or GM'd a game before and see how that actually happens when rubber hits the road. Because I feel like a lot of the problems I had on my end was like the conversion in my head from 5e to Daggerheart, whereas someone who's brand new doesn't have that hurdle.
Have to do that, yeah.
So like
that makes sense.
I feel like it might actually be easier than we think it is for a new game master, just because they have one less hurdle to overcome.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that side of it too.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's going to keep this game from really like becoming immediately a fucking superpower of a TTRPG are the people who are into 5th edition and it's already their Bible.
Wheelhouse, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the problem of every new TTRPG that comes out since 5th edition became the thing.
Right.
Yeah. I'd say on the same point, like coming from like D&D or Pathfinder, you might have people who run into the issue I said. But games like Vampire or like World of Darkness or other more improv-heavy games, they've been doing that this whole time.
Yeah, people who come from apocalypse system stuff, like Dungeon World and stuff like that, I feel like this is going to fit them.
Yeah.
It's going to feel real cozy. Like this is going to be like, this is my size.
Yep.
Yeah, very well said.
Very Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. This is my shade of denim. Or whatever.
All right, everybody. Well, that's the last feedback question. And I feel like there's certain points that we have driven into the ground as we have stated them over and over again. But that just really goes to show how much we believe in those points and how much we actually really enjoyed this system. I feel like it's only going to get better from here as they build it out past the beta.
I want to play more while it's still in the playtest area, and I want to run some.
Well, I think we might. I mean, I'm not going to commit to this just yet, but I think we might have another Daggerheart actual play on the horizon with Baron behind the wheel, possibly.
Wait, hold on. This is a Caster Guild podcast. Guild Decree. I would like Guild Decree. Baron has to run a game and have it recorded, and for everybody, that's my Guild Decree.
Jesus Christ,
Baron. I mean.
There's nothing I can do. It's been decreed.
It's been decreed.
I have really like ever since the first time. Like I think I've been on here like maybe like 4 times or something. But like it's one of those like it's my favorite part about these podcasts is making some fucking bullshit up that's like now set in law.
I love the Guild Decrees. Yeah, and
how did that even start?
I was thinking about that today. I was like, I wonder how that started.
So I went back when on season 1 because I wrote down every Guild Decree in season 1, and it became a thing in episode 2.
Oh, wow.
Whoa!
And
Early.
In episode 1, there's actually a very unofficial guild decree where it's like we're sitting there debating this fact about whether or not Dragonborns have memories.
Memories or memories?
Memories.
Oh, okay, got it. Just making sure.
And Baron just decides, you know what, from now on, yes, they have memories. And it's not a guild decree, but it sounds a whole lot like
decree.
one.
Yeah. Well, guild decree, run a game. You son of a bitch.
You don't know my mom.
I don't know.
She's a sweet old lady.
You know my mom, though.
Yeah. Sarah wants me to bring her over.
To bring
my mom over to your mom's house.
Oh, okay. I was like, my mom to where? Should I be concerned?
All right, everybody. Thank you both of our guild members for joining us on this podcast. Actually, 3 guild members joined us on this podcast. I forgot one of our guild members had to leave a little early.
Yeah, fuck that. No. I'll be listen to this later.
KCT, if anybody liked what you had to say or liked your playstyles, or they were on the internet that they can find you.
Yeah, I have a TikTok that I occasionally post on called the Dice Opossum.
Nice.
Anthony?
Great stuff.
So it's going to be traditionally like something with Disco Daddy, but on Twitter it's Le Disco Disco, L-E Disco Disco. On TikTok, you can watch my son post videos of his forehead or other random shit. I think it's just the Disco Daddy, stuff like that. You can find me. My name is Anthony. I'm on the internet. I don't have anything going on right now. Maybe in the future.
I will remind everyone, just because this is the part of the podcast that we're on, go check out Gunner at Shogundy on just about everything, especially Twitch. He's only a few followers away from his 500 follower goal on Twitch, please go follow him.
I don't think I follow him right now, so I'll see if I can be number 500 and you guys can tell him to, I don't know, eat my shorts or something.
So yeah, go check him out on Twitch, and links for all of that will be in the description down below. If you have any other questions about how we felt about Daggerheart or anything else about Daggerheart, all of us are in the Casters Guild Discord. So please come check us out. We have a channel that is specifically about tabletop talk. If you get in there, ask your question, I'm sure one of us will see it and one of us will answer it. If not, all of us.
Oh, 504.
Oh, there you go. I guess he surpassed it.
Yeah, damn it.
So now he's 496 away from his 1,000 follower goal.
And I helped.
I might have been blowing up the table talk chat with Daggerheart stuff last few days,
which is what it's for. Yeah, and you can always, as always, you can email us at castersguild@gmail.com if you don't want your question in that public of a forum. Check us out on all the socials, and like I said, come join the Discord. That's where all the fun stuff is happening, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.
Whether you like it or not.
Bye.
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 Bye. See you later.
Bye.
Toodles.
Bye.
Go play Daggerheart.